As the first teacher on his book Organon, and then we also heard that Al-Farabi, the second teacher, and Ibn Khaldun benefit a lot from these two scholars. So without further ado, we invite our Prof to continue with the fifth lecture tonight. Okay, Prof.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon to all brothers and sisters that have the time to be with us tonight, this afternoon, evening, inshallah. So, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wa salatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahu wa nasarahu ila yaumiddin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Can you see my PowerPoint? Not yet, yeah? No. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Okay.
Yeah,
you can see it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this is just the guide for my lecture, inshallah. Well, last week we have discussed on intellectual sciences, and we mentioned a few things that is related to the conception that Ibn Khaldun proposed in his epistemology. Last week, I remember that there was a question asking me about the translation of metaphysics into into ilahiyat, into metaphysics. I told you last week that I was, I took that translation from Rosenthal, because ilahiyat is translated into, sometimes into divinity, sometimes ilahiyat also translated into, apart from metaphysics, is translated into theology also. It depends on the context of the translation. But in this case, I saw Rosenthal translated into metaphysics, so that we take it as metaphysics, inshallah. So today we'll move to another maybe important matters that is Ibn Khaldun put in his Muqaddimah. That is about scholarship tradition, scholarship as a science and pedagogical method. Yeah, scholarship as a science and pedagogical method. Yeah. Well, of course, scholarship is an attribute, and science is the subject matter. Yeah. So the attribute that we have, together with mastering the subject matter, and of course, pedagogy is the method that the science is transferred. So this is what Ibn Khaldun is trying to explain, the tradition of scholarship as a science and pedagogical method. Well, I think this is good to begin with some background history of writing, because Ibn Khaldun also talks about history of writing. Yeah. But of course, before that, he gives a little bit of introduction to his discussion. Talking about education. Education is one of the basic necessities in human society. That's what Ibn Khaldun believed. So actually, we have talked about education earlier. When we talk about the sanad fil ilmi wa ta'lim, which is the prerequisite to the development of a civilization. There must be a strong tradition of sanad. I think this is what we are quite lacking now. As far as Muslim society is concerned, as far as Muslim intellectual tradition is concerned, we are quite lacking in this. In terms of sanad, we are not trying to, what we call it, study the turas, the tradition that we have. Our earlier generation have achieved. A great deal of level of knowledge. Yeah? So, but now we are maybe because of the there are several factors, outside, inside. As what we some people just put the blame on the colonial. Well, never mind. Maybe colonial is partly responsible for that. But ourselves is also very, very important. Yeah? And it is actually one of the integral part of Ibn Khaldun social philosophy, because he was talking about the ta'lim, the sanad fil ilmi wa ta'lim is almost throughout the muqaddimah. Yeah? And we see that Ibn Khaldun is a person that is very, very focused in their thinking, in his thinking. So he repeated so many times, the things like we mentioned in the first class, al-fikr, man's ability to think. He repeated that words, again and again when he explains, so that he is, he's not, talking something that is outside the framework that he has set up or he has established. And education is a social phenomenon, and teaching and instructions are a craft, or a sina'ah, a sani'ah in Arabic. And of course, man is a social animal, and his pursuit of learning is conditioned by the nature of the material, intellectual, as well as spiritual forces of the civilization in which he lives. So, في أن التعليم العلم من جملة الصنائع. So that's the title of this section. Right. And I think it is good that we discuss something that Ibn Khaldun mentioned in brief. The history of writing. The history of writing, some background history of writing. Yeah? He was talking about actually the development of pen and script, al-qalam wal-khat, among several nations. And this includes scripts of the great civilization those days, like he mentioned the Yemen, the Himyar, and of course the Nabatean, the Syriac, and so on. Yeah, because those civilizations have got their own tradition of script and writing. Because for Ibn Khaldun, this tradition is so important as far as knowledge development is concerned. Because when you have knowledge, you have to write it down. So you have to have a very strong tradition of writing, script and writing. Those powerful civilization and nations in the antiquity, they all of them have a very strong tradition of script and writing. Yeah. And of course, for Ibn Khaldun, the development of script and writing, it is not something that is just, it just happened like that. It is not natural. It is something that is worked out by the people of that particular civilization. That means that these people they develop that skill or that that tradition. It is not just it happened naturally like that. It is not as what Ibn Khaldun used the word tabi'i. It is not tabi'i. It is something ikhtiyari, something that is worked out or developed, and it cannot consider neutral. Or this cannot considered natural. He mentioned a few scripts that was firmly rooted in the ancient society. He mentioned, for example, Middle East, civilization like I just mentioned just now, Himyar, Yemen, and so on. And he also mentioned Hebrew and Roman. Those who have already established his strong tradition in script and writings. In the end, he concluded that during his time there was 3 scripts that have a particular significance in his time. That is, he mentioned Syriac script, because Syriac is the it's very antique one, the old script. And he also mentioned Arabic and Hebrew, because Quran and Taurat was written in Arabic and Hebrew. And of course, he also mentioned Roman and the script of Roman. There are so many, sacred book translated into Latin, and they use Roman. Okay. When people have developed that the strong tradition of writing, they start produce knowledge through writing, through the means of writing. They wrote it down in the form of script writings, writing manuscripts. Well, actually, this is very interesting. Actually, he tried to classify the categories of writings as far as academic writing is concerned. We in our case, we call it academic writing, because he was talking about literary composition at that time. What they call in Arabic, they call it ta'lif, at-ta'lif, the tradition of at-ta'lif, writing. And the seven purpose of literary composition. So this is what Ibn Khaldun has tried to classify the categories of writings, or the genre of writing at that time. The seven purpose of literary composition. People have strong tradition of script and writing, and they write and they produce books in the form of writings, scripts, to document their knowledge. So this seven purpose of literary composition is actually relevant in our time, because when we write something, so sometimes we don't know in what category that we are writing. So Ibn Khaldun has detailed out. This one is, he has done it in the 15th century. Number one, new invention. So, what is new invention? Yeah. The invention of a science with its subject, its division into chapters and sections, and the discussion of its problems. A new knowledge, one category. You are writing something new. You want to communicate that knowledge into to others through writing. So you are writing something new. In Arabic, I just put al-istinbat here, but he explained quite extensive on that. So new invention is the first category. The second category is, interpretational, al-bayan wal-ibana. So the first category of writing is you're writing something new, which people have not yet done before. You istinbat something new. So that is one category. Another category of writing is interpretational. Someone has written on it before you. But you find it, something is necessity to probably to interpret, to explain, so that when people read, they have a better understanding of that knowledge. So sometimes you might find it difficult to understand. So how do you want to communicate something that is, is so difficult, so that You interpret it and you write it down, and it is in the second category. What Ibn Khaldun, put here is interpretation. You interpret. And the third category, correction. So Ibn Khaldun says that you might find something wrong in the previous, writing of the earlier scholar, maybe. You find something, or you might come across an error or mistakes in the discussion. Then these people might be one of the famous or authority in the subject, but you find something that need to be corrected. So you do the correction. Bayan al-ghalat wal khata. You do the correction, or you criticize the way it was presented. And this is another category of academic production, or academic writings. And of course, that one is number 3. The fourth category is elaboration. You might need to elaborate. In the Islamic tradition, we find there are so many books that have sharah. You have matan, al-matan, and you have sharah. And sharah, sometimes not only one level of sharah, the second level of sharah also people done. People do elaborate more and more from the book, especially by the students of a certain professors or certain scholars. So you elaborate the book or the writing of the earlier scholars. That is also considered as another category of academic writing or scholarly writings. Elaboration, al-itmam, syarah. And next is number 5. Rearrangement or improvement. Sometimes you might find out that the arrangement is not so good, and you need to improve it. You can improve the arrangement of the knowledge are there, but the way he put it, it was not quite, maybe not quite good and difficult to to follow and so on. You do the arrangement. Rearrangement of this the earlier works is also considered as another a literary a scholarship works. And of course, the number 6 is literary criticism. You do the critics, tanzim. Sometimes literary criticism bring about also a new discipline out of the earlier text, and it might also address certain scientific problem that might come up from that criticism. And number 7 is abridgment. ikhtisar. You summarize, abridge, summarize. Sometimes, you know, the book is so, you know, big. So you want to summarize it. So, and that summarize also, summary or al-ikhtisar is also considered as one, another category of academic writing. Now, you know, it is good for our you know, students as well as academics nowadays, you know, when we want to do something, you know, some academic work, you know, we know what to do. There are so many, you know, ways and means of producing academic work. Of course, new knowledge, new invention is important. Yes. New science, you know, new findings. But also other categories. We can also do the, you know, the interpretations, tafsir, or sharah, and you know, of course, correction. This one is, you know, sometimes, you know, you create polemics in academic, you know. Of course, exchange of ideas. Sometimes we have I mean, different understanding on certain things. You know, it's okay because and it is allowed in academic. And the interpretation also, you know, this tradition of translation also come under this interpretation. Translation, you translate something from foreign language into our own language. It is also part of, you know, academic work. And of course, correction, elaborate. Yeah? See, elaboration of something. You know, sometimes you just pick up a certain issue, then you elaborate. Rearrangement, improvement. Yeah? You can improve the earlier books. You know, new impression, you know? And literary criticism and abridgment. So they are actually Ibn Khaldun has put, you know, 7 categories of literary productions. So we can choose which one that we want to, you know, work out. You know, sometimes, you know, people don't write because they don't have research. You know? It's not necessary you have research, then you can write. You can write. If you don't have research, then you pick up, you know, one of the maybe books, and you write books, and you read the books, and then you might want to do something on the books. So this is also considered as academic writing. Yeah, the value of summary, you know. Actually, Ibn Khaldun, when he discussed about this summary, he was, you know, he's not very, you know, very keen in this category of scholarship. Why? Because he said that is the knowledge that you gain from ikhtisar is not a complete knowledge. It's not something that you, I mean, you cannot, you cannot obtain the habit. So, but ikhtisar is important for you to have some ideas on certain things. So this is like, you know, maybe in modern tradition, you know, we have encyclopedia. Probably, yeah? In the encyclopedia, if you read entries in encyclopedia, it is very, very brief, very short. But in order to go into deeper discussion on a certain entries or certain issues, then you have to open the window. That is the window. So, ikhtisar is important, but reading ikhtisar is not enough. It's not adequate. If you want to attain, or if you want to attain the level of habit, you cannot just read ikhtisar. You have to read the complete work. So that is what he mentioned here. Yeah? So it might be good, if we can see some of these. Some of the scholarly works in various disciplines are very lengthy. Yeah, of course, voluminous books. They need to be interpreted and explained. Some scholars make an effort to abridge them in order to make it easier for the student to acquire an expert knowledge of them. So, yeah, of course, if sometimes, if somebody bring you a very thick book, then you can just, you have no time to read it. But if someone bring, a summary of it, then you might be interested to read it. Yeah. Based on several instances, such as the work of Ibn al-Hajib in jurisprudence and the principle of jurisprudence, Ibn Malik in Arabic philology, Al-Khunaji in logic, Ibn Khaldun argued that this method using a short summary or using ikhtisar did not help students very much. He said, of course, if you only rely on the abridged version, or you rely on the mukhtasar, ikhtisar, it will not be, of course, your knowledge will not be very strong because you only read the summary, or abstract for that matter. You read only the abstract. On the contrary, this method is considered to have corrupting influence on the process of instruction, and it is detrimental to attainment of scholarship. So, in the university, for example, sometimes we cannot encourage a student to just rely on the ikhtisar, on the summary. Read the actual book and try to understand what was written in the actual, the complete work. The reason is that it only presents the final result of a discipline to the student, but he's not prepared. He is not prepared for them, and does not have enough background in the discipline. Sometimes you want to just cut short to gain a certain knowledge. Just you don't want to read all these long books, big books, and you just go to summary. So, and of course, knowledge, there is no shortcut in knowledge. Of course, Ibn Khaldun's point here is valid. He has a strong argument here because of the inferiority of this method to the complete work. It is inferior, of course, because this is already summarized. Among its deficiency is that this kind of work require laborious study. Naturally, such work are complicated because they are crowded with ideas in trying to find out the problems of the discipline. So, of course, Ibn Khaldun again talked about Malakah. He believed that the scholarly habit or the Malakah that result from this, this method of reading the summary is very far inferior to the habit resulting from the study of a more extensive and lengthy work. So this, of course, he said that this ikhtisar is important, but he did not encourage the student, if they want to gain, scholarly habit, they have to read the, the more extensive and lengthy work. Ibn Khaldun also speaks about the history of instruction in general, and of course, he also speaks about a good pedagogical method, a way of teaching, a way of instructions. Okay, he divide into several parts. I will try to explain. First, Ibn Khaldun tried to present his general theory of education method, as well as the role and function of the teacher. And after that, he talked about the roles and the role of students. Of course, you have teacher, you have student, and you have subject matter. And actually, nowadays, we are quite confused in the sense that, some people talk about student-centered learning. We have to migrate from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning. Now there's student-centered learning. And of course, when we talk about student-centered learning, everything must come from the student. Student is given freedom to explore knowledge. Actually, that one is very dangerous also. So to me, it's simple. We have to stick on the knowledge-centered learning. Of course, students have their role, teacher or instructors have their role, but of course, the bottom line is knowledge. Whether they get the knowledge or not, it doesn't matter. So, the way it is, it is instructed or it's conducted, it depends. Sometimes you do the practical work. Sometimes you have to give lectures. Sometimes you have to interact. Sometimes it depends on the nature of knowledge that we want the student to acquire. Right. He also gives some general advice about how to develop good habits in the process of knowledge. And of course, he also advised that the attitude that student must have, towards science and knowledge. You have to have the right attitude, the student. The first basic principle he mentioned here is the basic principle of effective education is that it should be in gradual stages or in stages, at tadrij. This is the principle that Ibn Khaldun tells us. It has to be gradual and stages. Tadrij. And he explained what he means by gradual. There are 3 stages of instruction. First, the teacher presents to the student the basic principles of the given discipline. Start giving them the big picture of the discipline, of the whatever subject. And at this stage, the teacher will give a commentary and in a summary fashion, because it is, is an introduction. You have to introduce to the student giving the basic understanding of the subject that you want to teach. At the same time, the teacher will observe the intellectual potential and preparedness of the student. Of course, you're teaching maybe a number of students, and you can see, among them, maybe they have different level of understanding, different level of intellectual and potential, and preparedness in terms of, accepting the knowledge, or understanding the knowledge that you are teaching. Of intellectual potential and preparedness of the student. And the student at this stage can only acquire habit that is ineffective, approximate, and weak. Because they have just been introduced with a new discipline. So they have a maybe not very strong understanding, but they actually at least they know something about the subject, but it's still very weak as far as Ibn Khaldun is concerned. And the objective of this test is only to enable the student to understand the discipline and to know the problems. So it is good if our educationists try to study what Ibn Khaldun is trying to propose in his pedagogical method, way of teaching. Well, it might be useful. Then the second stage, at this stage, the teacher goes back over the discipline a second time. It is a repetition. Come back a second time, and the teacher will no longer give a summary, but full commentary and explanation, explaining the existing difference of opinion or ikhtilaf in difference of opinion, and all the different opinions in certain issues. And the result of this stage is that the student scholarly habit is improved. So it is a little bit higher than the first stage when you just give a brief overview. Now you are going deeper into the subject matter. And in the third stage, the teacher leads the student back again for the third time. And the student now solidly grounded. The teacher at this stage will leave nothing that is complicated, vague, or obscure unexplained. That means that almost everything all the difficult part of the textbook and things like that have already been explained by the teacher. So the student is now solidly grounded in that particular subject. Yeah. And the teacher at this stage will leave nothing that is complicated. Yeah. He bear all the secrets of the discipline. As a result, the student is now able to master and acquire the habit of that discipline. So that means that, the method that Ibn Khaldun proposes, you have to repeat 3 times. And I think this method is also practiced in maybe in pondok or pesantren. Now, when you study, your curriculum is based on the kitab, on the book. So you are reading in a very detailed and try to explain almost every single sentence in the book. This is the effective method of instruction, according to Ibn Khaldun. And of course, we can now understand that what he proposed is the gradual process, the tadrij, and tikrar, or repetition. Although it requires repetition, it might be less in some cases, depending on the student's ability or natural ability, disposition, and qualification. Of course, for some students, they might not need the 3 times repetition, because they have already acquired a certain level of knowledge. And okay, Ibn Khaldun also talks about the role of teachers. He criticized some of the teachers at his time. No, he criticized some of the teachers of his time for being ignorant of the effective method of instruction. So at that time also, he criticized some of the gurus or some of the teachers at that time those who for him ignorant of the effective method of instruction. And these ignorant teachers, according to Ibn Khaldun, they do not follow the right procedure of instruction. Yeah, maybe at that time, they already have a quite systematic pedagogy in the what is it? Some confront the student with obscure scientific problems. Some expose them to the final result of the given discipline, or ghayatul funun, at the beginning of the lesson. So in the beginning of the lesson, you already exposed the result, so that student might not be able to understand, the process of how to achieve that result. So, yeah, this is not the right way to effective instructions. And Ibn Khaldun reminds again his reader that preparing oneself for scientific knowledge and understanding grow gradually, and therefore the process of instruction should follow the same procedure. It must be gradual. It must be gradual. He's worried about the backlash of the wrong approach in instructions. For example, he said if the students are exposed to the final result when they are still unable to understand the basic principle of the discipline, they are far from prepared and their minds are not acute enough to grasp such understanding, and they may get the impression that scholarship is too difficult and try to avoid it, so they give up. So this is very bad. And for Ibn Khaldun, if the student have given up, this is the result of poor instruction, because the teacher have have not followed the right procedure in his in his teaching. Well, we can probably summarize something from what Ibn Khaldun wrote here. Number one, teaching should be based upon and according to the age group. He mentioned actually the level of the age group, and teaching must be based or according to the age group. Instruction should be continuous, repeated, and avoid prolonging the period of instructions or any long interval. It has to be continuous. Because sometimes if you stop for a long time, you might not be able to to relate to what you have done before, and then you tend to forget. So it has to be a continuous process. And this is interesting. He said students should not be exposed to two disciplines at one time. At that time, not now, because this is not relevant to our time, because that time maybe when if you want to study one ilmu, you have to focus on that one, then based on one book, one kitab. So therefore you can get a better understanding of that that book, because you are focused on that one. He also gives some general advice to the student who is in the process of learning. Ibn Khaldun, he gives some. Let's try to give some useful advice here, and of course he recall again his theory of process of thinking, man's process of thinking, and his discussion on the role of and function of logics. And we mentioned in the last class, logic help man to distinguish correctness and error from error. And of course, in this case, he described logic as a technical procedure that parallel man's natural ability to think. Amrun sinaiyun. Technical procedure. Since this is only a technical procedure, scholarly results do not always depend on it. In fact, many of the world's best thinkers achieve scholarly results without employing the craft of logic. Of course, you use logic, when you try to understand, something. Yeah? But for Ibn Khaldun, there are also other ways of understanding the subject. I mean, not necessarily through logic. So he gives some example. There are many world best thinkers that achieve scholarly result without employing the craft of logic. And this happened to the thinkers whose intention is sincere and the help of the mercy of God. Ma'a sadaqatin niyyah wa ta'arrud li rahmatillahi ta'ala. And that's all, of course, it's happened in Islam, yeah? Because we believe in the ilm ladunni, yeah, ilm, something that God give the inspiration to that particular person, so that he or she will understand something. So this understanding is, of course, we believe that understanding is something gifted. Something given to us. It's a rizq. And when we pray, Rabbi zidni ilman, warzuqni fahman. So when come to faham, and we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the rizq, warzuqni fahman. Rabbi zidni ilman, of course, ilm, we can struggle, we can make an effort, we can acquire knowledge. But understanding is something else, it's another level. Warzuqni fahman. In the case of these thinkers, they can proceed with the aid of their natural ability to think that God give them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them the ability to think and to find the middle term and knowledge of the objective. So therefore, it is not only logic that can bring understanding something. Sometimes we can also have this understanding based on the help of God. He mentioned about the hijab. What did he say? Ibn Khaldun described this knowledge as a veil or hijab. Those who want to reach a scholarly objective must pass through this veil. And when the veil is is open, then you can have have that understanding of knowledge. Yeah, I think that's the only time we have. I think, Brother Shahran, we already now at 10:30. Still halfway, but that's the only time we have. I think I hope that I will give something, some insight of what Ibn Khaldun have tried to explain in his book Al-Muqaddimah. So over to you. If there is any questions, might not be able to respond, or if it is something that I can respond now.
Okay,
yeah, over to you, Dr. Shahran, yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, Prof.
Wallahu alam.
There's a question from Brother Tahir.
Yeah.
Is Ibn Khaldun genre of writing has any relation to the multiple intelligences that he also first advocated before Howard Gardner did? Howard Gardner didn't do all that dearly with his multiple intelligences theory.
Yeah, I'm not quite familiar with multiple intelligence theory, but I do agree that he is, because his explanation is very detailed. Very detailed. If we can use that category of literary production now, I think we can do a lot of things. We don't have to wait for research grant in order to write things. We can write something based on our reading, based on our understanding, or based on our we want to criticize something that we can do that. Yeah. So yeah, that is my response to the question.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
The next one by Brother Nuruddin.
Yeah.
Can you explain the relationship between education and civilization in the view of Ibn Khaldun?
Yeah, thank you. Well, education is the prerequisite. For Ibn Khaldun, education is prerequisite for any civilization, you know. And you have to have a very strong tradition in teaching and learning, you know, and knowledge production. Otherwise, we cannot attain the level of achieve the civilization that we want to achieve. So yes, it is very closely related, and it is part of it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof.
Yeah.
I think the 7 purpose of literary composition that you discussed, and then the step of this education must be gradual. Yeah. And the last part on teaching should be based on the age group, should be continuous, and I think this is very important for us as educators to understand it very well, inshallah.
Yeah.
So final comment for tonight, Prof? Before we
thank you, inshallah, because in this part of actually that is another section that to me is important. He talks about ta'lim al-wildan, elementary education. Not many civilization theorists talk about ta'lim al-wildan, but Ibn Khaldun spend, I think, is quite a special section to discuss about elementary education, because the continuity of civilization is depending on the way we teach our children. I think that's the final remark that I can give you tonight, inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. We'll see you next week, inshallah, Prof.
Thank you, inshallah. Thank you. Wallahu a'lam bissawab.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.